All right, people, so here's one that we saw coming. AT&T is making headway on its copper retirement plan. So, AT&T has FCC approval to turn off copper for 500 wire centers. But it's still facing state pushback, namely from California. Alleviating customer concerns is another challenge. The road to copper retirement. Okay, so we'll talk about this here for a minute. When it says 500 wire centers, you can't think about a wire center as one town. A wire center is a geographical area, and inside this wire center could be many towns. Um, there's really no way to tell what they're going to do unless they would name the wire center, and then you would have to find somebody within the industry that would be willing to tell you how many offices are in that wire center. When you look at the number 10% of AT&T's customers, that gives you an idea of how big these areas have to be if only 500 wire centers kill 10%. Okay, let's move along here. AT&T bumps fiber passing goal to 50 million and creates a landline phone replacement. They don't tell you what that is, so that should be interesting. Johnson explained AT&T must first get relief from each state to discontinue copper. Only from there can it move forward to the FCC's process, which involves a filing to grandfather and stop new copper services and indicating what alternatives are available to customers in that area. A lot of work went into figuring out how do we exit, why do we exit, and what is the sequencing of the exit. Alternative services could be fiber, fixed wireless access, or phone advanced. AT&T's landline phone replacement. AT&T also has to show the FCC phone advanced is compatible with what consumers need it for, such as fax machines and medical monitoring devices. A lot of work went into figuring out how do we exit, why do we exit, and what is the sequencing of the exit, Johnson said. Now this is interesting because what they're not mentioning here are elevator phones, alarm systems, and that sort of thing, because they all have to be taken into consideration too. Automated teller machines for your money, that's another one. A lot of these are using cellular right now as a backup. A lot of alarm systems have started to go complete cellular with redundancy, one carrier with another for backup, which is great as long as the whole cell tower doesn't crash. So it would be interesting to know what this phone advanced thing is that AT&T says they have that they're going to replace phones with. Is it satellite? Is it VoIP? What is this thing? A related story is operators time to double down on copper retirement. Johnson added AT&T is prioritizing copper retirement in its wireless first areas, which are markets where AT&T isn't building residential fiber. The goal is to have no customers using copper in those areas by the end of 2027. In other areas, it's aiming to finish fiber deployments before beginning customer migrations. AT&T's regulatory copper challenge. AT&T is not quite done getting over the state regulatory hurdle, Johnson said. AT&T still doesn't have the go-ahead from California and a handful of counties left in Kansas and Nevada. Another related story is titled California Won't Let AT&T Off the Hook for Landline Phone Services. California last year rejected AT&T's request to be relieved of its duties as a carrier of last resort. An operator designated as a carrier of last resort must provide basic telephone service, commonly via landline, to anyone who requests it in its specified areas. State regulators said AT&T failed to demonstrate the availability of another provider willing to serve as the carrier of last resort. We are still working with the California policymakers as well as the Public Utilities Commission there to define our path to get to state-level relief, Johnson says. California's legislature deliberated a bill that would allow AT&T to exit as carrier of last resort in areas the state deems well served. However, it was held in the state's Senate Appropriations Committee, meaning it's not moving forward. The legislation would have required AT&T to continue service for existing customers for at least 12 months after being granted a carrier of last resort relief. So AT&T is the first outfit to just put anything out like this that I can find. Brightspeed, CenturyLink, Lumen, they've been pretty quiet about all this. But I can tell you for sure that AT&T isn't the only one that's working towards this. As you can tell from the articles that I posted up there, AT&T is pretty serious about this, and I'll guarantee the other companies are too. Okay, so my opinion on how all these companies are going to get around this is good old Elon Musk and his Starlink. I don't know of anywhere that Starlink doesn't work. I've installed some of them. They work well. They're kind of pricey, but if you don't have a cable provider, you can't get wireless service, and there's no fiber optic cable, you're really not going to have a choice. Some of these companies I know that have been put in a position where they don't have a choice but to shut a switch down to get around the requirement of the 3-month notification. They've been handing the people a cell phone and saying, here's your cell phone, in 3 months we're shutting it off, just throw it away. It's going to be painful for people that don't have an option. There are a lot of people that are kind of reluctant to believe this is going to happen, but believe me, it's going to happen. It's happening now. The companies are kind of at odds, how to determine what area gets shut down when. I do know one certain company is already shutting stuff down, smaller footprints, when there's a major problem in one of the phone offices, such as a lightning strike on the office or that sort of thing. It's going to become more common where they're getting more numbers, larger numbers. So I don't care who your carrier is. If you've got copper service for telephone or DSL, you really need to get on the ball and try and figure out what you're going to do. Because one of these days, these people aren't going to give you a choice. I'll hope to have more on this topic upcoming. So if you like the information I provided, do me a favor and click subscribe. Thanks, and we'll talk to you later.